It's the day of the Internal Communications and Engagement Awards, and I'm joined by Anastasia Parfenova, who is Head of Events at the University of East London. They're shortlisted for two categories tonight, which are Best In-Person Event and Best Internal Communications from the Education Sector. And Anastasia is here to tell us a little bit about their initiative, the impact it's had, and the lessons she's learned along the way. So to begin with, could you just give us a bit of background to the event that you launched? What was it about and what was the sort of incentive for launching this event?
So first of all, it's not the first event of that kind that we run. It's an annual occurrence, so at least the second one that I've seen in life, but the university had more of those beforehand. And it's an opportunity to come together to discuss where we are heading to, and what's next for the next academic year, because obviously we're an institution, but it's also a great chance to take stock where we succeeded in the previous year, to celebrate successes and move forward.
And you said that it's been an ongoing initiative. What was the sort of why was this event sort of introduced initially, would you say?
The university is unique in the way that we are dedicating the whole week for staff development and learning. And so within the University Development Week, we also host this all-staff conference. So why it was initially hosted and why it's stayed on the agenda is because it's a great opportunity just to come together, because university is such a multifaceted thing where we have academics, where you have students, of course, at the center of everything, but also you have professional staff, and obviously their understanding of where the different parts of university might be different. So conference is a great opportunity to hear from the top very directly, very clearly where we are, who we are, why we are changing in the way that we are changing, or why we are continuing in the way that we are continuing to pursue our goals, and what actually those goals are. And obviously, as an university, we are driven by our vision, which is Vision 2028, and therefore this vision also needs to be communicated so everyone from the janitor to the professor understands why it is so and why we are moving ahead with this. And again, as I said, it's also an opportunity not only to kind of have lots of corporate jargon being said from the stage, but also to have both-way communication, and to engage with all the colleagues across the sector, across the university, to understand again how we are contributing each individually and each as a team, as a department and as an institution to the wider goals that we have as an organization, and to celebrate the successes of teams, individuals, and the university as well.
What would you say makes this conference distinctive within the sector, and what sort of makes it stand out, would you say?
So again, as I said, we have a whole week dedicated to learning and development, and again, being in the world of education kind of drives you to educate also your staff, but equally it's a very generous allocation just for people to take stock, to pause potentially, to talk about various things. But the conference again is the kind of cherry on top of the whole week, where it sets your direction, it have this momentum going, including the sequence, how we are actually scheduling the week overall. So Tuesday is now the day that we have our staff conference, but then it proceeds to the departmental days, when the staff again heard from Vice Chancellor and President, heard from provosts and other senior colleagues, and from each other, and then they can take that back to the team level, to the individual level, when they're setting the objectives for the next year, so they actually can benefit from knowing and having better understanding where we are and where we are going to set these objectives. And again, having a big university with around 2,000 staff, having an opportunity to get at least half of them in the room to get this is, again, a great success.
I mean, I know it's been a long-term initiative, but what sort of feedback do you get from this, or what kind of feedback perhaps do you get throughout the week from people attending? And what lessons have you learned as you curate this experience for your staff?
Great questions. So obviously, again, as learning organizations, we try to practice what we preach. And the event that we've submitted for this particular award definitely learned from the experience of previous years and improved on so many things. And it's evident in our results in terms of how how better people are reflecting on what they've taken out of the events, how better they understand Vision 2028, how better they are equipped to take it forward in their careers, and how it actually applies to them. Because one of the feedback we had, some of the professional staff thought that it wasn't very targeted to them previously, so we've revamped the program, we've addressed that, so it is relevant for everyone. And one of the ways how we've done that is redoing the program. So we had a dedicated breakout spaces where people, after they've heard, general, high-level institutional goals and vision, they can actually go and take it on the level, in the areas which is relevant to them, in the more peer-to-peer level or teams level, so they can actually discuss what it means to them, rather than, general well-being of everyone in the world, with something more practical that they can take forward. Plus, also it reflected in the actual setup of the event, because I'm head of events, I'm not like doing the education or communication as such, but basically how we organize the space. So we have two main arenas and spaces. So in one, basically it's the main one where we have all the presentations, all the talks, all the kind of key point discussions, and it was in a round shape, so allowing people actually to mingle all around, to talk to each other, to have the communication, and to feel free, actually not to be seated, silently throughout the day without any movement, because, well, they're in the theater and like locked in all the sides, but basically it's more like fluent direction. And the second arena was breakout spaces for us, where people can go to the spaces which are relevant to them theme-wise, sit to the people they might know or might not know, so for enhancing this engagement and communication, team collaboration aspiration that we try to encourage through this event. And that also resulted in a very positive feedback from our staff. And even from that experience, we've learned, what worked, what worked less good, and therefore, like for the next iteration, which we just had, again, because it's, somehow how you can go without all staff conference, we again changed the format of the breakout sessions. So it's like it's iterative process, and plus obviously kind of feedback of staff on the day through the evaluation forms, through the anecdotal evidence and discussion throughout, because again it kind of pushes you to communicate with your colleagues. It's all resulted in, I hope, even better events this year around.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Anastasia, for giving us some insight. It sounds like a really valuable internal initiative and experience, and best of luck at the awards tonight.